just waiting for you to do, to do, to do,
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to episode 39 of the Brooklyn Fishing Club podcast. This episode is brought to you by BFC Apparel. Right now, everything is on sale until Labor Day, from $15 tanks and $20 t-shirts to $20 discounts on membership and more. Visit brooklynfishingclub.com and check it out. On this episode, Captain Chris Gonzo joins us to discuss how he caught and released a giant tuna on a solo mission. Let's listen to his story.
Wow. I've been fishing since I'm 6 years old. City Island was my stomping grounds. Like, I grew up in the Bronx. And anytime my mom would take me to the Orchard Beach or City Island, I would always bring a fishing rod. You know, I started out snapper fishing. When I was 12, I got my first job on the North Star, which is a party boat out of City Island. And, I worked weekends just for tips in the beginning. And then as I got older, they actually hired me as a mate full time. So I worked evenings after school, and I worked my weekends. So I started out fishing. I would sell my fish on City Island, and I just loved it. And I always say, like, my slogan is fishing is a life skill, because a lot of the things that I do today, you can apply the things we do in fishing. So whether it be investing or business or relationship, each time we go out there are certain conditions we look for, certain situations, timing, and they could all be applied. So I've been fishing my entire life. I currently live in Jersey City, and anyone I ever speak to, I always say our area here, we have one of the best fisheries in the world. I mean, we have so much access, and the amount of species of fish that come through here, it's just like, I don't think there's a better place in the world. You go down to Florida, and yeah, it's great, but it's not what we have here. So yeah, this tuna, I mean, I'll give you dates. So I had bought a brand new boat during pandemic, and boats were tough to come by. Inventory was tight. So this sailfish came available. I took delivery September 27th. And, for the next couple of days, I didn't use it, obviously, because I had things going on. But October 1st, I took delivery out of Brick, which is like Manasquan River. And I was going to transport the boat up to Jersey City. So I said to myself, you know what, my first day on the new boat, I'm going to go and set up for these giants, for these bluefin up north, right? So I got down to the boat around 12 o'clock. I figure I'd catch that afternoon, bite. Heading through Manasquan, as soon as I got out at the inlet, I saw some bunker, and I started snagging, a few bunker. I took 5 pieces with me, threw them in a live well, and I headed up north. And I knew that fleet would be up there. There's probably 100 boats on that north side of Ambrose. So I said, you know what? I'm going to set up on the south side around like 17 fathoms. And so as I'm heading up there, I'm seeing bait in the water. Maybe there were small bluefish pushing through, small mackerel. I saw a whale pop up. I said, you know what? We're going to set up here, about 120 feet of water. You have access to deep water on that 17 fathom curve where, it feeds into Monsters Ledge, the Mud Hole, Glory Hole. So you have deep water access. Here's where I'm going to set up. So I set up, and I didn't have any rubber bands, so I just hooked my bunker through the back, and I set him out there. I only fished one rod because I was by myself. And while I'm set up, I'm videotaping whales. They're popping up, they're blowing air, and it's cool. It's kind of the things that I want to show my family when I get home, because they're not there to experience that stuff. So set up for about an hour, and I noticed that my bunker is acting erratic. Like, my balloon is starting to come towards the boat. So I go up to the rod, I start to reel in that slack, and I notice it's coming towards me, a little bit quicker. So I start reeling a little more, and then boom, that balloon goes down, and I start cranking. I get tight. I'm like, and you could hear this on. I have a video on YouTube where you could actually hear what's going on. So I'm like, I'm tight. I'm fucking tight. We're fucking, like I'm talking to myself out there, right? And so the rod is up in the bow. It's I have an adjustable bent butt, so the butt's bent, over, and I'm tight on this fish, and he starts smoking that reel. I mean, I'm like smoking, so I'm just standing there, and like in that moment of panic, like I don't know what to do. What should I do here? Should I, try to hold the line, try to stop him? I put my thumb on the spool. I'm up to 45 pounds of pressure. I'm like, holy shit, I got to get this boat in gear. So I leave the rod up in the bow, and you could actually see that video on my Instagram. But I run to the helm. I start up my engines. I put it in gear. I hear the reel start to slow up a little bit. I put the boat in neutral. I run up there. As soon as I touch the rod, he starts smoking again. I run back to the steering wheel, and I start to, I got to start running this fish down because I'm going to be spooled, right? Like this is, I mean, it's great, but I don't want this fish to spool me. So my heart's pounding. I'm talking to myself. I'm saying, I got to get this rod out of the bow. I got to get it over by the helm so I can at least, be close enough where if I got to put the boat in out of gear and run this fish down, I'm able to. So I finally get this fish to turn, right? And so I say to myself, I'm not myself, I'm saying this out loud. So I'm like, I got to back off the drag a little, pull this out of this holder here, and get this rod over to by the steering wheel. So I do that successfully, and I'm like, oh man, this is so freaking. My heart's pumping. I have a buddy that fishes me named Peter. I'm like yelling. I'm like, Peter, where are you? I'm talking to myself, right? Like it's just super, super exciting. And then I'm into this fight probably. It felt like 2 hours, right? Because it's you're by yourself. I'm exhausted. You could hear me heavy breathing. But it was probably like 45 minutes when I look at the timestamps on my video. 45 minutes. I'm saying to myself, I gain on them. I'm straight up and down with this fish, and then all of a sudden there goes another 100 yards of line, and I'm like, I can't win. Like at one point in my head, I'm saying like, I just want to lose this fish because I'm just not going to do this, right? It's just we're now an hour and 15 minutes, and I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I get him close enough, and boom, he goes again. So the whole fight took about an hour and a half, and so now when I got that fish straight up and down, you had those very erratic head shakes, and I'm like, man, he's going to spit this hook an hour and a half. Now I can't lose this fish, right? So when I finally get a glimpse of the fish, I'm like saying, damn, is this fish over? Is he the right size? Like, I've never seen a fish like this that up close. Like, you see bass fishing, you could tell what a short is. You're like, all right, yeah, that's a short. You just throw them back without even measuring, right? But this fish, I'm like, I can't even gauge the length of it. So I said, I got to get a tail rope. I had my harpoon was rigged up from when I got on the boat, and I'm like, I have to make a decision here. It's either I'm going to stick this fish, or I got to release him. So I grab a boat hook. I grab a rope. I tie a loop in there. Take the boat hook, and I grab the gaff. I lifted this fish's tail just slightly to get the loop over its tail, and boom, it's like game over. I'm like, all right. I strap him to the side of the boat. He's crashing on top. So I took my gaff, which was 6 foot, and I put it in the side of its mouth, and the gaff didn't reach the tail. I'm like, holy shit. My gaff is 7 foot. That's 72 inches. This fish is over. I got to release it. So I'm estimating now. I'm like, all right, how long is this fish? So there was probably 5 inches to, from where the gaff was, 5 inches to the tip of his mouth, and then probably another 4 inches to this tail. So I estimated this fish is probably like 82 inches. Right. And so, I take the tail rope off of him, and I still have my hook in him, right? So I grab the gaff, I try to get it in the side of the mouth, which I did. I got a video that shows that. And so now I got the fish swimming alongside the boat. He's exhausted. I'm exhausted. And I'm like, fuck, I actually got to release this fish. And then I'm saying to myself, I'm like, even if I don't release this fish, like, how am I getting this thing in the boat? I really just have to drag them back to port, because at 82, 84 inches, this fish is probably 375, and I'm not lifting this. I didn't have a block and tackle on the boat, and there's no way I'm going to lift this fish in the boat. So, but I wasn't going to take them anywhere. So I'm swimming them, and I get up to, like, 5, 6 miles an hour. Fish is, kind of just like catching his breath. I'm catching my breath. I wish I could take pictures. I wish someone was there to see this. I wish, it's like all the things that, you have this fish and there's no one there to share it with, right? And all I have is the story. But thankfully, I had my GoPro chest cam on, whereas I was able to capture a lot of what was going on, especially what I was saying, and I was comical. It's like at some points it was just like, what the hell, who's gonna win here? So I couldn't reach the hook, so whatever, it probably fell out of his mouth. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, but I snipped my line close enough to his mouth where he was able to live and swim another day. But now it's so surreal. Like, I couldn't believe what happened. It's now 5 o'clock, and I'm steaming back to port, and I'm just like on cloud nine. I couldn't even believe that happened. I get back, I'm trying to tell my family what happened, and they can't grasp it. They weren't there. They're not. You tell your friends, and it's just like, it was quite an experience, and you don't know what you're gonna do when you're in these situations until you actually in them. So that's actually my first giant I ever caught. But large fish that you get on, you're passing the rods to a few different people, and I had no one to pass the rods to, and you know you did it right. You don't know what you're capable of until you're in the situation. And it's just, I never gave up. I never stopped reeling. I never stopped gaining line. I did have cuts in my hand because I didn't have a glove, and I'm pulling on that line to gain on them. But it was just such an amazing experience. You watch Wicked Tuna, you see what they do, and it was just like, you watch enough YouTube videos to see what people are doing. But no, I had no idea what I was in for, and yeah, man, it was my first giant bluefin. I've caught, schoolie fish in the 60, 80 pound class,
Yeah.
popping in the fall winter months, but nothing like this, no. And it was just so surreal, man. Even today, like, it's, I'll go out there and you catch another one, and it's nothing's like your first, nothing's like that day, because now I try to have a crew with me, especially if I'm going to set up for them, because I can tell you, like, I was concerned, not for me, but now I'm concerned with the fish, because it's an hour and a half into this fight. I'm exhausted, right? But he's really been fighting for his life, right?
Yeah.
So, it's something I'd never do again, because I don't want to risk hurting the fish. I never kill what I'm not going to eat, and but and I say that, but just the other day, I was 88 miles offshore by myself, and that's what I do. Like, I'm usually solo, right? But you're hoping you don't get into these big class fish. So that day, I went 1 for 3 on bluefin, and I ran into some yellowfin too, but they were super finicky. They just would not touch anything. I love it, man. I live for it. It's not. I don't do it to escape my life. I do it to live my life, right? Like,
I hear that.
that's how much I love fishing.
Definitely. Definitely.
And
So what do you like, what are you feeling like the day after that? I mean, are you still kind of
what am I feeling?
a buzz from it, like, or was it kind of like, oh man, what am I going to do next now?
I tell you, I went out the very next day again. You know what I mean? I'm like, come on, now I need someone with me. Like, come on, I know where they are. They're gonna, and let me just go back to this. So while I was fighting this fish, um, he dragged me all the way to the lobster pots, like where these guys set up the lot, and I saw another fish just fly out of the water. I'm like, this is so crazy. Was this guy? He's laughing at me, this other fish. He's like, you're never going to catch Billy, and this is what's going through my head, right? I'm like, I'm trying to get someone on the radio. Is anyone out here? Someone to get on the boat. And I just said, you know what? Screw this. I'm by myself here, and a boat came by me, and not probably half a mile out, and I'm trying to flag them towards me. And guys are not looking, you know. They didn't realize I was. I guess I was hooked up on a fish, but I definitely could have used another hand. But I went out every chance I could. I went out there and set up for them, you know.
Yeah. So
And
how'd the rest of the season go? Did you get any other giants?
so I got one more. I got one more. And but you know, it's not my kind of fishing, you know. Like I never really liked shark fishing because I don't want to just sit up there and sit on a boat and wait, right?
Yeah.
Like I like more of the run and gun. I like the action. So yeah, I did, and I got another one. But you know, it's there's nothing like it. It's just such amazing fishing, you
So
know.
so have
And
you?
a funny story after you had Blacktip out, right? You guys went out with Rockfish Charters.
Yep.
I had messaged him a few weeks later. I said, I'm booking a trip. Get over here. Like it's just it, you know, it's on me. Like come out, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That was a crazy day. We went 3 for 5.
that's
And
nuts.
yeah, that was when he
And
broke.
you doubled up too.
Yeah, we did. That was when he broke out the kites, and nobody had really been using kites. And then I came out a few days later, and there were about 50 kites up in the sky.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, that's what social media does, you know,
Yeah.
like people talk about like, you know, this is new. I swear I remember, you know, fishing in the fall and the summer months, you're anchored up on a piece of bottom and you see these marks and you're like, oh, they must be striped bass. And now that I think about it, the shapes of them, no, they were fucking probably giants swimming through, you know.
Yeah.
These fish have been here. It's just no one has really, you know, understood how to catch them and not set up for them and usually not geared up for it. You know, you usually see these things when you sea bass fishing, right?
Yeah.
Like listen to Mike, what's his name? Mike LaRusso's story of that fucking swordfish.
Insane.
Like, I mean, that's nuts, you know? First thing that came to my mind was that, is that fish sick? Like, what the hell, you know,
Right.
what's that thing doing in 240 feet of water? Like here, like, you know, but that's an amazing story. That's just, what you got to be set up for, you know, like if you're going to go out there, hey, this might come through, let me have this with me, you
Yeah. You
know.
got to be ready. You got to be
you got to
prepared.
be you got to be
It's
ready,
like that
you
old
know.
saying about, the definition of luck: preparation meeting opportunity. And that's really it.
that
Mike was
that's
ready to go, and he stuck him.
that's it, man. And that's amazing. Like he didn't even hook this fish, he just fucking stabbed it with a fucking harpoon.
I
That's,
know.
to me, that's a sick story,
An
right? Like
hour on
that's
the hand
just,
line. It's
you
insane.
know,
It's like
come
some old
on.
man in the sea stuff. It's crazy.
Right. And once you commit to that, there's no going back. Like,
No,
you
no.
know,
Once you throw that harpoon, it's on.
that's it. You know, it's not like there's no fighting chance here. You know, that fish is not going anywhere. So you know, you better
Yeah,
have the stamina.
definitely. So it's funny to hear you say that at one point in the fight, you were actually thinking to yourself, like, I kind of hope this fish gets off the line. Like,
I swear to you.
it's
I
funny
swear to
how the
you
mind
because
plays those tricks.
it does, because it's, you know, again, I'm an hour in and it's like whatever I gain, he just took back plus. Like I'm looking at my spool and I had plenty of line, right? But it's just, you know, you start thinking about, I got to bring all that shit back in. you,
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
I got to bring all that stuff in. This
It's
is like,
exhausting just to think about it.
right, right.
So
But
how's the season going so far for you? And have you heard of like anybody hooking into any giants yet, or seeing any, marking any?
so funny story. Um I had a 25-foot Parker that was for sale. I actually just sold it 3 weeks ago. So I'm transporting the boat from Jersey City to Manasquan because that's where the guy was taking delivery. And I have no rods on the boat, right? And talk about a story. I am literally 3 miles from Manasquan Inlet. So I'm in between Shark River and Manasquan. I'm a half a mile off the beach, and this fucking giant flies out of the water. And I don't have a rod on the boat. So I call my buddy, Jerry, Eastbound Malanga. You probably, you know,
Yeah, I know
follow him
him
on
on
Instagram or
Instagram.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I said, Jerry, he's like, what's up, man? I'm like, get the fuck down here. I'll meet you at the dock. Bring your fucking rods. We got giants busting half a mile off the beach, 3 miles from Manasquan. He's like, how many did you see? I don't fucking know. I saw one, right? Like, but it doesn't matter. I see them. Let's go, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I just left the dock. Shit, man. You know, if I go back down, I know what's gonna happen. They're gonna be gone. And it's the truth, right? These things pop up
That is the
and
way
they're
it
gone. Like
works.
you got seconds, but I'm just hyped. So this was a Thursday. the very next day, I said, you know, it was 6 o'clock when this happened. I said, those fish are going to be busting in that bunker tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be down here tomorrow morning. And it's blowing 30, right? Like thunderstorms. It was the nastiest day. I had no business being out there that very next day. But again, like, come on, opportunity, right? Like, freak it. I'm going to go out there. So I went out there, I got my ass beat with waves and lightning and thunder. Took a little bit of video, send it to my wife. She's like, "You're crazy. You need to come home. It's storing over here." So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." So I went and fluke fish. But that's how it happens, you know. So you talk about. I haven't heard anyone picking up any on the bite, but we have seen them. You know, they've been at the BA buoy. Last Saturday they saw them busting. I saw them a half a mile off the beach. Fish are here. They're just not, settled. You know, they got to get set up. They got to get settled. Bunker's starting to leave the bay, so that's kind of what you need. You need that. I say soon we're going to see them in Raritan Bay, right? Like that's
Yeah.
Look how long the bass have been there.
I
it's
saw
already
one
July.
last season. I saw one jump in Raritan. It was
Are you
amazing.
serious?
Yeah, it was probably a 300-pounder. Totally cleared
Wow.
the water, completely out of the water. It was in the afternoon. All the boats had kind of, all the striper boats that usually fish there were gone.
Gone.
And we were
Yeah.
just heading back to port, and I saw that thing clear out of the water. We tried to set up by where it jumped out, but that thing was on the move.
Yeah.
We couldn't find them. But it's just amazing that, we have this fishery so close to the city, and it's like, you don't even need to go to Florida. You don't really need to go anywhere. You're in, like you said, one of the best fisheries on the planet. And in my opinion, it's only getting better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they stopped the gill net, so you got more bait, right? It's just
Yep.
the water's cleaner than ever. Like last year, I caught a sturgeon, fished the Manhattan Cup,
Whoa, let's hear
and
about that.
I caught a sturgeon. So you know the area. So in the summer, I could set up with eels and drift by Statue of Liberty, like, and it's clockwork, right? Like no one's catching stripers, but those fish are there. They're
Yeah, they're
literally sitting
always
at the
there.
bottom,
Yep.
right? So for the Manhattan Cup, I was having trouble with my engine. I wasn't getting up to plane. I was only getting like 9 knots. So I said, I'm not going to run over to Raritan Bay. It's going to take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there. I'm going to set up here. I know they're here, and we'll get a fish or two. So I set up with a live eel, and I hook a fish. I'm like, one on. I get this fish up. It's a freaking like 2 foot sturgeon, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, holy shit! Like, look at this. You talk about how clean the Hudson is. These fish are making a comeback. I'm catching sturgeon, like just amazing, right? So I dehooked them. I took a quick photo and put them back in the water. I later, found out you're not even supposed to handle them. You're not supposed to pull them out of the water. So you learn, but amazing to see. So it got recognized in the because I had a photo of it. They're like, oh, for the most exotic fish, we got a sturgeon. It's cool.
That
But
is really
first one I've
cool.
ever seen. I've never seen one. I've never caught one.
I've heard whispers about them. I've heard of guys hooking into them. I've heard of guys seeing them free jump. But I haven't really heard of anybody catching one. That's really cool. It took a live eel, huh?
Live eel, yeah, and they got small mouths. So you think about like how it's just so happened to be next to his mouth.
Yeah, they look like
that
dinosaurs. They're crazy.
they're super prehistoric. Yeah, they look very prehistoric.
And apparently there used to be, a pretty solid population of them in the Hudson, but I think they got over harvested for caviar, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And now they're making a comeback just like everything else, which is great to see. It's
I
amazing.
mean, look at striped bass. I've never seen fish this big. Like
It's been a
fish are
really
huge.
good season so far. Everybody I talk to is just having a banner year. And everything seems to be bouncing back in terms of the bait and everything that they need to survive. So hopefully it continues on this path and we just see crazier and crazier fish move into that area. You just don't know what could come through there. How was the last trip out? I saw you tagged me.
Yeah. So I went 1 for 3 on Bluefin. That was just amazing. Like I was north, so I started out 88 miles, which is let's say by the Cholera, which is like Long Island side, right? And I'm leaving out of Manasquan. So um, as soon as I got up there, huge feeds, dolphin, whales. I just happened to be in an area where these bluefin popped up. I had one shot at them in the morning, and fish caught me off guard. I was fishing with a paddle tail. He hit. I never set right. Like it just caught me off guard. So I spent a couple hours just kind of moving around, seeing if they pop up again. I said, you know what, I'm gonna pick up and head. I'm gonna head south. I'm gonna head southwest to like the area of the Bacardi. So I'm 19 miles away, and when I hit 9 miles, I look at a distance. I'm like, holy shit! There's like an acre of foam. I'm like, so I'm doing 31 now. I'm doing 45, right? Like I'm just gunning. I don't care. And so I run up on these fish, and I swear it took me about 10 minutes to get to the fish, and I literally had them around the boat for 15 minutes. So for 25 minutes, those things were crashing on top. So these were yellowfin, and you had shark mixed in. Um, and so I call up Jerry. Happened to be out too. I'm like, Jerry, you got to get over here. Head towards the Bacardi. 9 miles. There's a fucking acre of them. Like, so I kept getting on top of these fish. I finally hooked two fish. One of which I landed. The other one I lost at the boat. But these sharks were ruthless. Like they were coming up after the tuna.
What kind of sharks were they? Just brown sharks?
Brown sharks. I didn't see anything. I was looking. If there was a mako in there, maybe I would have let them gnaw on mine. But that's why like I'd rather
Yeah.
take the bluefin with me.
Yeah, definitely.
But these things were it was insane. Every time I got on them, they were just boiling for 5-10 minutes, and you usually don't get that, like. So it was pretty cool, man.
I heard that.
And now I'm in Cape May, wishing I was fishing today, right? 'Cause today the weather's great.
I heard that they just closed. They closed off Makos. Is that true?
Did they officially do it? Well, no, I heard they were doing it, but they haven't passed anything yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Unless it happened in the past couple of days.
I don't know. I think I saw something last week about it, but I could be mistaken. I'm not sure, but it seems like they're looking to close that fishery off for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a good idea. I mean, come on, like it's the population is down. Like they got to bring it back. Like,
I know.
I know.
I'm not really for the. I mean, I love sharks. I've been obsessed with them since I saw Jaws when I was like 5 years old, and I've caught them and stuff. But to me, I just can't wrap my head around really killing one, just based off of all the stuff that I've seen with, shark finning and all the stuff that's going on to sharks. But I don't want to piss anybody off. I know a lot of guys like to shark fish.
Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea.
You know what they should do? They should do what they did with the bluefin. I mean, have you seen these documentaries of the pen raised bluefin they have in Japan?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's great. That's genius. Like, let's do something like that.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it just takes initiative.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it takes a lot of money, commitment, and you got to get everyone on board.
Yep. I mean, I haven't even seen that many mako sharks caught in the past few years. It's just been a lot of threshers, from what I can tell.
A lot of threshers. Yep.
And those things are so cool to me, man. I mean, the way they hunt. Have you ever seen the YouTube videos of them hunting? The way they
arch their back.
Yeah,
they're
they
like
whip that
cobra.
tail.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yep.
That's why some guys catch them on the bunker spoons, because they'll whip a bunker spoon, and then they're hooked on the tail. I know Richie had like a 400-pound thresher that actually swam into the propeller. That was on like a bunker spoon. It's crazy. Yep. But
going back to like the fishery, and so I also think that the pandemic did kind of help the fishery. I mean, you think about the commercial boats weren't going out, restaurants were closed, like
Yep.
there was no demand for meat. So look, maybe a year or two can really bring back the health of a species, right? So yeah, shut down mako, shut down thresh, shut it all down. Like, go tuna fishing. It's so much more fun to catch.
Exactly. So would you say that you're obsessed with tuna fishing now? Like, this is
I am obsessed. You have no idea. Obsessed.
So who are some of the other captains in your network besides Jerry? I mean, who else are you hitting up on the radio?
Jerry, John out in Long Island, McMurray. Look. Let me be honest. I really will put anyone on the feed. Like I'm not that guy. Like when someone asks me, "Hey, where'd you get them?" I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah,
Like I know. Look, especially tuna fishing. I could tell you where they were today. There's no guarantee they'll be there tomorrow.
exactly.
And I think it's people ask me, I tell them. There's a guy in my marina the other day. He wanted to. Well, this is going back a month and a half. He said, "Where'd you get the sea bass?" I said, "Go on my boat." And take the numbers. Like go there. There's no shortage of fish, right?
Yeah.
And I think that this community needs to kind of start acting a little differently towards each other, right? Like we're all out here, we're all burning fuel, we're all trying to catch some fish. It's most of the time these guys are only coming out on the weekend, right? When
Yep.
when their days off, they're not fishing. They don't have the ability to fish like the commercial guys or like the charter boat guys, like especially them. Like if I know I have a bite and there's a charter boat near me, hey, come in here. You got fares. I come from that
Yep.
environment, right? Like
Yep.
so,
You know how it
I,
is.
I yeah, I want them to. And sometimes, catch a little of an attitude. Well, what are you trying to tell me how to fish? No, they're fucking here. Come get them. Like what the fuck,
Yeah, even when you're trying to help people, they're skeptical about it. It's like
You,
it's like the
you,
signature New York attitude right there.
it's funny. So a couple of days ago when I was into these bluefin, like I literally had just hooked two fish off the same. So the bait was right on the surface, and as soon as your popper would go through that bait, these fish would just boil. Like they were literally just sitting right under them, and I have marks showing exactly what they look like. So I call one of the guys over. I say, you see this? You see the bait kind of just shimmering on the top right here? Just come over here and throw your poppers right through it. They're gonna pop up. Okay, and the guy goes the other way. Like he just thought I was jerking him, like I'm jerking him around. Okay, I'll catch another one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things like that. It says I really believe in sharing and helping others. Like that's it.
It's
You'll
part of the
see videos
game.
of me. Yeah,
You pay it
it's
forward and somebody will hook you up, next weekend or
absolutely,
next week, whatever it is,
a- absolutely.
That's part of the
And if you
game,
don't want
man.
me to ask you questions, I won't. I kind of stay low key. I stay to myself. You ask me something, I give it the answer. But
That's cool,
I'm
man.
not.
We need more captains like you out here.
I appreciate it. We will. We will, though, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Once everybody gets their bluefin, then they can all calm down a little bit because I know some guys are still trying to get one since last year. So, but
Yeah.
let me ask you this about the poppers. If you see a fish bust behind the popper, you have to kind of pause and just let it sit there. Is that something you do too, or?
Yeah, it depends, right? Like, are you using the large poppers? Then it's more of like a gush, right? Like
Yep.
you're pulling that, let it settle, gush. I don't really use those bigger poppers unless I have a problem with wind. I prefer the mediums,
Okay.
right? Which is more of a chug. So you're chug, 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 right? But if I'm using the big poppers, you gotta those gush.
There's nothing like
Wind,
top water
gush,
fishing,
wind.
especially for tuna. It's crazy.
I mean, it's when they crush, man.
So, what type of tackle are you using? What's like your go-to?
So I have 14,000 Certate is like my, it's big enough and small enough that I could match on any wood. I like a medium rod, like a lighter rod,
Uh huh.
and with a heavier reel. Um,
And then you've
seven and a
got,
half foot, 8 foot,
yep. What kind of line are you using?
60-pound braid.
Nice. And what about the leader? Are you tying? Do you have like a swivel there? Are you tying directly to the braid? How are you doing it?
Right to braid, so I'll do it all bright
Gotcha.
to my leader, and then swivel to interchange my poppers when I have to. Like I can tell you, even a couple days ago, I literally went through everything in my box just because it's like they don't want this, they don't want that, they don't want this, and you finally find what they want, or what they'll take. So you got to be quick on the fly and be able to change your lures quickly. So that O-ring is the ring pliers. Just have them handy and
Yep.
swap out your plugs. I know a lot of guys are struggling, and it's listen, these fish are on small sand deals, so you throw in a big bunker size popper, your odds of hooking up are very slim because it's just not what they're feeding on.
Yeah, you got to match the hatch.
match the hatch, and it's tough, like you find yourself throwing epoxy jigs because that's the thing that matches the most.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks ago I had a bunch of school of albies, and I found one school that had some small schoolie bluefin mixed in, and I lost the bluefin at the side of the boat, and it was he bent one of my hooks and broke the other one. Why?
Oh,
It's just
man.
the tackle's not there.
Oh, you must have been angry.
I was pissed, but at least I found them, right? It's like the joke with my wife. She's like, I'm gonna go find the tuna today, right? Like she's like, did you find the tuna? I'm like, almost. Did you find the tuna? Yeah, I hooked one and lost them. She's like, just give it up already, and that'll never happen.
Does she ever say anything like, it's the same species of fish? How many times can you catch the same fish? I've heard that.
No, this is what she did say. She said, I can't wait for you to get one or get one for the season already, so you can get it out of your system. I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, that's just going to make it worse.
That's what I was thinking too.
Right?
It's just going to
I could be
escalate
frustrated.
things.
I could be frustrated, right? I said I just put $900 in fuel in the boat, and I'll burn 160 gallons, right, like a trip, and it's not cheap. So it's like, all right, they're calling for 10 to 15. Man, why can't it be 5? Why can't it be 5 to 10? So you kind of, but now it's like we finally got them. They're finally, visible. 10 to 15, we'll go.
Gotta go. That's it. If they're there, we're going.
You gotta go. If you don't go, you're not gonna know. It's
Exactly.
like, again, I caught them fish 3 days ago, and now they might be 20 miles south or 20 miles north. So the searching starts again, right? Like, because you're not out there every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that when you are going out like a few days in a row, and you mentioned like having to be quick on the fly, switching the tackle, have you ever noticed that the day before they were maybe hitting like green poppers, and today they're not even touching them; they're only hitting white ones? Like, have you seen that before?
So you be honest with you, I've never really seen a difference in color, right? It's more presentation.
Okay,
So like, what's the cadence today versus what they want tomorrow,
gotcha.
and you got to try, the different speeds. Maybe you do have to let that popper settle for a couple of seconds, and then boom, hit it again, instead of that quick rapid chug like I just described, right?
Yep.
Like, so presentation is key. I've never really had a situation with color though. Just more cadence,
Interesting.
and my go-to, if they're really, really finicky. I mean, I have probably 6 different size paddle tails, like there's a little chop out there. I'm not using a popper. I want to get just below the surface, and that paddle tail is going to do the trick,
Yep.
It's tiring because you're reeling faster than you normally would consistently, but it's every day's different.
Yeah. When you're
I always say this joke, right? Like what got her off last night might not work tonight, right? You gotta always be stepping up your game when you're out there.
absolutely 5 years ago, I don't know if you told me that we'd have this insane bluefin tuna bite going on. I don't know if I would have believed it. But I mean, even 5 years ago, like with the striped bass, like sometimes you would struggle to find them. Now it seems like they're everywhere.
Now it feels like you can't keep a hook in the water, right?
Yeah,
You can't keep a bait in the water. It's
exactly.
like
It's crazy.
it's not fishing anymore. It's catching.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think that's why some guys get a little bit frustrated, including myself, because you could go out and have, 3 or 4 good trips in a row and be like, oh, I'm on top of the world. I'm going to catch fish forever. And then all of a sudden it's over. So you just kind of have to enjoy it while it lasts, and be prepared and be ready to take advantage of every opportunity that the sea gives you.
That's it. And you know what? Like, have some options. Like, so I'll give you an example. Like, I'll go tuna fishing, right? And like, I'm right. Yeah, we're heading to this area, and we'll run around for a little while. Let's see what happens. If we don't see anything, we'll stop on this wreck. Like, I always have something else I'm going to do while I'm there, right?
Yeah.
Just because you got to break up the day that way. I mean, you could just literally be running the whole day until you see them, and then but you'll set up, and now all of a sudden, boom, they pop up, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You
All
know
of a
where the
sudden they're
bait
there.
is, and these fish are not going far from the bait.
No, if you find the bait and you kind of just stick with it, I mean, I feel like eventually they got to feed, they got to show up on it, and
Yeah.
especially if it's like a lot of bait and you can see bait for miles. You just got to keep your eyes peeled because they could pop up on the bait a mile down. You just got to run down there.
Absolutely. Or like I said earlier, throw your popper, throw something through that bait, get that bait turning, and then all of a sudden, boom, they blow up. I mean, how many times have you bluefished that way? You know, like the bunker not doing anything and snag one or two, and then boom, there's a blitz.
Yeah, because they're just kind of lurking under that school.
Just sitting. They're full. They're full, but you know what? Hey, free meal. All right, we're moving. Let me
They'll take it.
So you gotta, sometimes that blind cast is the key. Just what are the conditions here? There's a little shimmer on the water. All right, let me throw. Let me make a few throws. And see what happens. And then boom, you just get surprised.
Yeah,
those are the most exciting parts, right? Like, because when you pull up to a feed, your heart's pumping. You're like, holy shit, you're about to do everything wrong. Your hook gets hung up on your line. It's just.
You're like shaking with adrenaline.
Exactly. You're like, damn, I'm going too fast.
Yeah, no, sometimes you got to just take a breath and refocus, because that's something I've been working on for years. I get so hyped about fish that sometimes it'll impact, the way that I'm fishing, because I'm just like crazed.
Absolutely.
So I really have tried really hard for me, it's been more so of like a mental game, like tricking myself into staying calm, staying focused. I just get so hyped about fish, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
That's why you got to reflect. You got to kind of
absolutely, and that's why fishing logs are really important. Do you keep a fishing log?
Always.
Yeah, super important.
And I date every mark. So like 615 bluefin, 618 blue. This area, like so next year when I come back. Oh yeah, I caught bluefin here. I caught yellow. This little things like that. But also storing that information. What was the water temperature? What was the water clarity?
What was the moon?
What were they on? What was the moon?
Was it overcast?
What was the tide?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. All those factors.
All of these things.
They all play a part, and that goes into being prepared.
Right.
It all goes back to being prepared. If you've done your homework, and you're in the right place at the right time based off of data that you accumulated over the past few seasons, you're probably going to catch fish.
That's it. And watching the behavior of birds. Everyone sees, there's a bird in the air. Oh, what's he doing? Is he traveling? Is he scouting? Is he sitting on the water, and does he keep popping his head and looking to see if the bait's being pushed up? These are all signs of a feed's about to happen. You got a couple birds in the water, and their heads popped in the water, and they keep looking in and keep looking in. They're basically looking at the bait to see if the bait's being pushed up, because once these tuna feed, the birds feed. So you got to train your mind to, kind of play the psychological game, like, what's this bird thinking right now? What's this bird doing?
Is there a type of bird that people call tuna birds? Like, I feel like I've heard that. It's like a
there's
little gray bird.
Tuna chicks.
Tuna chicks.
They're black. They're really small.
Yep.
You'll see them kind of just like, they kind of like hop on the water, and they're just picking up plankton. They're picking up whatever they're feeding on. But the shearwaters are probably so. If you see tuna chicks, right, and you see them going back and forth, there's something going on under the surface, right? But if they're just going in one direction, stopping, going in another, keep going, stopping, they're just picking up stuff along the way. But if they're going back and forth, there's some feed going on that they're watching for. Now the shearwaters, these are the ones that they actually swim. I hooked last 2 weeks ago. I hooked like 5 of them, because they're diving under the water, and they're actually, they'll grab your paddle tail, they'll grab your epoxy jig, they'll grab your popper. These are the they're the ones that swim.
So if you see both of those species of birds, you're going to set up there pretty much, especially if the tuna chicks are moving the way you described them.
Yes, and so there's an offshore bird. I don't know the name of it, but they're white and they yell a lot. So these birds are key. These are like, when you see white birds, it's like go time, right? I mean, white birds, seagulls, when you're 3 miles off the beach, those are just seagulls. Yeah. But when you're 30, 40 miles and you see white birds up there, and they have that screechy, loud yell, those birds follow bait, right? They just sit on this bait. and they know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
You know, any pelagic going to bust through this bait, and they're free meals. You know, but they're very high pitched, screechy. I'll send you a video of what they look like.
Yeah, send it over.
But
Definitely.
very screechy little white bird. That's key. Find them, and you'll find fish.
That's
Stick
great
with them.
advice. That's great advice. What say I was, gonna get into bluefin tuna fishing this year for the first time on my own. What advice would you give me?
So here's what I would do. It's not a one and done, right? Like there's just always something for us to get. So what rod and what I would do a Syntron 75 or 79. It's a good popping rod. So that'll be 7.5 feet or 7.9, or you can get a Syntron 8.1. It'd be like a little over 8 foot. And then I would do a Certate is like my Certate or Twin Power. So Certate is Daiwa, and the Twin Power is Shimano, I think. But Certate 14,000 is what I like to fish with. That's my go-to. 60-pound braid. I would do 80-pound leader, right? And so on my paddle tail, I'll usually fish like a 6-foot leader, 7-foot leader. On poppers, I'll go 3 to 5. Paddle tail 3 ounces is like it's like the very neutral best fit, right? 3 ounces, 6.5 inches. Sand eel is like really my go-to, especially with paddle tails. People say on overcast days you want darker colors. On bright days you want lighter colors. I really haven't found a difference in color. So, purple, pink.
Yeah. How
white.
about in terms of live bait? I know last season I saw, mostly everybody's using live bunker, but some people are using
small blues
too.
Blues.
I mean, does one, is one better than the other in your opinion?
So in my opinion, I believe the bluefish are better because they shine more in the water. They're more active, and it's like a treat, right? Like you want to eat you had bunker yesterday. You want bunker today too, and I don't think, fish obviously don't think of that, but oh man, there's a small bluefish, let me grab them. So I like small blues. They stay more active. They stay alive longer than the bunker do.
Yeah.
Once those bunker get pink, you're done.
Yep. Once they get that pink belly and slow down,
that's it.
They look all sick and dead. Yeah.
They won't touch them.
It's amazing how smart they are.
They're
It's like, no, that looks a little sketchy. I'm gonna go find a fresh bunker.
That's right.
Yeah. But when you're hooking the bluefin, are you putting the hook through their nostrils or are you putting it through their back?
Nostrils.
Or the bluefish, I should say. The nostrils.
Both.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So through the nostrils, bridle, rubber band, 3 twist, right to the front, out the back.
Awesome. Do you have live wells on your boat?
I have one live well. It's not big enough.
It seems like those are really important for this game.
Very, because the bigger your live well, the more bait you can carry, right?
Yep.
So like I can safely do 10 pieces in my live well. If I exceed that, they'll die quick.
Gotcha. Run out of oxygen in there.
Right. So like
fish.
Guys like Rockfish and Just Saying, they're running big down east boats. They can, they have a barrel. They have a big barrel that they constantly keep water through.
Yeah, they're ready to go. But it seems like you got an awesome setup there, man. I mean, you're catching giants on your own. It's crazy, man. It's pretty crazy.
I got lucky.
You also didn't give up.
Come on. I didn't give up, but it's not something that I would recommend people go out there doing again. You got to take into consideration, you need an extra set of hands out there. God forbid something happens, but also for the health of the fish,
Yeah.
The quicker you can get that fish. Yeah, the quicker you get that fish, boat side, either in the boat or released, the healthier the meat will be, or the healthier the fish would be, right?
Did you hear of any guys getting sharked when they were pulling any bluefin last year?
None.
Yeah. It's kind of
Did you?
interesting. No, I didn't. And I'm thinking about it because you mentioned you saw some sharks the other day. I know that was offshore, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's got to be only a matter of time before these sharks kind of dial in on what we're doing. And they're like, you know what, that bluefin right there that's half dead, I could get a nice bite out of that.
Yeah, right.
But who knows?
I did see the other day. I was on my way in and saw a dolphin that was looked like it was chomped up a bit, probably died, and then
Really?
the sharks got. Yeah,
Have you ever
you
seen a
come
great
across.
white out there?
I saw a great white 3 days ago.
No way.
Fish was probably 8 to 9 feet,
Just cruising the surface.
just cruising the surface.
Wow, that's
Tons of
insane.
turtles this year.
Really?
Yeah, I counted. I don't know, like 20 some odd the other day.
That's
It
great.
was just, it's good,
That's a
right? Like the
great
water's
sign.
clear.
Yeah. Have you ever caught any
Mahi,
mahi out there?
mahi. Yes, when tuna fishing is not good,
Hit the lobster pots?
hit the lobster pots. And the key is the same albie jigs you would use. That's what you got to use for them.
And it's like a pretty
I,
quick retrieve,
I'm
steady, quick retrieve.
a little jerk,
Okay.
little jerk. But yeah, it's people use bucktails. They work, right? But I can tell you that jig will outfish that bucktail any day.
Yeah. You have any superstitions when you're going out there?
No bananas.
All right, so you're with that
No, no, no,
movement.
no. Here's my superstition. If my wife gives me attitude, I'm gonna have a bad trip.
Wow, that is real. I feel that. I feel that.
know,
I don't know
like
what
if
that
she's
is.
pissed off that I'm
What
going
is that?
fishing,
It's
I'm like, you're the jinx. You're the reason why I'm not hooking up today.
Oh my God. I don't know what that is. Maybe because the whole time you're just thinking like, man, is she going to be even more pissed when I get home? Like what do I have to deal with? Kind of throws you off a little bit. That might, but I feel that,
That's
man.
it.
Might as well
Are you
just stay.
married?
You might as well just stay home then.
Yeah, that's it. You didn't ruin it. So now what are we doing?
Yeah. What do you want to do today now? Huh?
Yeah, right. Now you done ruined my fishing trip. So
You come
I'm
home.
gonna save the fuel.
Yeah. Might as well just drink beers on the dock.
That's it.
So when you getting out next?
Tuesday, Wednesday. Weather looks like it's looking clear. So if you want to come, please just shoot me a message.
Awesome, man. Thank you for the invite. Have you? What's like I usually ask everybody this. What is the sketchiest situation you've been in out on the water?
So the day I got that bluefin, I had the bent butt, right? So when I went from the bow to where the helm is, I put the rod in that 90-degree rod holder. The kind of one that kind of sticks the rod out. So
Yep.
because of the bent butt, the rod was parallel to the water. So you could even see this on the video. I almost lost my rod that day. Like it came out of the the gunnel, and luckily I was still holding on to it.
Oh my God.
But I haven't really been, so I don't go out there when it's shitty. Like I'm not a warrior. I'm not trying to impress anybody. Like the worst day I was out was that day it was thunderstorming where I said to myself I shouldn't be out here.
This was a
and
bad idea.
they were rolling like 8 foot, and I took one kind of little broadside off the stern, and it kind of pushed the boat kind of over, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing out here? Like that's when I turned around, and when I turned around, that's when it was lightning, thunder, but that's about it. I'm not doing anything crazy off. And being out there solo, that's the only
That in itself is like, I don't know. I mean, usually there's at least one other guy to just man the wheel and one guy on the rod. I mean, but solo, that's just crazy.
Yeah. So what I do is when I'm out there, I do a radio check if anyone's in the area, just to kind of keep communication with someone out there. God forbid something does happen, I love to be by myself when I find fish, but I don't like to be by myself, because you're by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It starts to get a little iffy.
If you need a hand, you need a hand,
Yeah. How'd you feel when that bluefin swam off when you finally revived it?
I felt very accomplished, and again, it was just like surreal. You know, it was like I still couldn't believe that happened. I got back to the dock, I couldn't believe it happened. You know, it all just happened. It all just came together. You know, and I look at videos, I could see like all the things I did wrong. Like you know, it's just again that adrenaline just kept you doing, you know, something
Yeah.
to get to where you were. But
It seems like nowadays too, with these, you know, GoPros and everything, like that's just another way to enhance your fishing log. I mean, you just said like, you know, you're watching the video back. It's kind of like being an athlete and, you know, watching footage of past games and kind of realizing, you know, I did this wrong. Next time I'm going to do this, you know?
that's right. And I tell you, so 3 days ago, you're popping through these massive feed. I'm going to send you a video of what they look like when they were boiling, but you're like, I didn't get a fish on that. How can I didn't get one fish out of those three throws, you know, and you're trying to figure out why, you know, like what was going on, you know, what direction were the fish going? Where was I throwing, you know? And like,
Yeah.
these are the things that you got to pay attention to because, you know, tuna are not bluefish or striped bass. They don't turn on a dime. Like they
Yeah.
hit what's in front of them and that's it. So if you're not throwing that, you know, popper up ahead of them, then you're just, you hit them on the head, they're not going to bite it. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
striped bass, you hit them on the head, boom, they're going to, you know, inhale it. You know, and make that quick turn.
So this is a great episode, Chris. Thank you for calling in, and I look forward to checking in with you.
Just waiting for you to do